Academica Media. From Academica Media Studios in Miami, Florida, it's Big Ideas in Education, a weekly recap of inspiration and innovation in your schools.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Big Ideas in Education. I am your host, Dr. Sarah Boulos-Fye of Somerset Academy Schools, joined, of course, by my co-host, Ryan Kairalla of Doral College. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Sarah. Great to be chatting with you.
Great to see you. Great to be here. So if you've been listening in, we want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving holiday. We had a few episodes highlighting some features of the FCSCSDSCSCSC conference that we attended. If you've been listening to Ryan, he loves that acronym. And this is actually our first time in months that we're back in our studio, so to speak. We're not in an actual studio, as you may know if you've been listening to us for any amount of time.
Actual studio.
We really should change that intro. I think about that every time. I'm like, I think at this point we have more episodes not in that studio than we ever did in that studio. But
Academica Media Studios, I like to think of it more as a state of mind than a physical location, right? Academica Media Studios,
in your heart.
It's all of us.
It's the studios we made along the way.
Exactly.
So, Ryan, what did you want to talk about today?
Well, I want to talk to you, Sarah, about team quizzes. Teachers are always on the hunt for effective assessment methods. And for those looking for one that combines collaborative learning with an efficient way to measure students' progress, then you might be interested in learning more about team quizzes. In a recent article in Edutopia, educator Jay Schauer talks about how it works. So here's what it would be for your next assessment, such as a quiz. You have your students work on it solo, writing their answers in a black pen. Next, rather than collecting those quizzes right away, you arrange the students in groups of about 4, usually combining different levels of mastery, and have them work on the quiz together. But have the students make any revisions to their original paper using a different color pen so that you as the instructor can measure how a student has improved in their mastery following the collaboration. Then, once the first round is done, you have each group rotate or trade out one of its members to go over the quiz again and create some additional cross-pollination among each group. Once the collaborations are complete, the students finalize their answers and turn in their assessments for grading. From the article, quote, "The strategy helps students to learn from each other as well as learn teamwork and persuasive speaking skills to support their ideas if they disagree with their peers." Now, Sarah, if you want an additional twist on this, one of the things that you can do as the instructor is randomly select one paper from each group and then assign everybody in that group that paper's grade. Not only does that mean less grading time for the instructor, but it encourages students to help their peers because obviously all the students are getting the same grade. So you're going to want to make sure that your colleagues have strong mastery of the material. What do you think? Team quizzes, you on board?
Well, I have to admit, the first time you said team quizzes, I thought you meant something very different. I thought you were talking about like academic quiz bowls, and I was
we can all get on board
excited.
With that. Those are fun as all get out.
Those are really fun. But I like the idea of what you're describing because it really does introduce some element of defending your answer, right? And that's a really critical educational component when we're talking to our students. I encourage teachers all the time when I'm working with them to ask 2 very powerful questions when students give an answer, regardless of what the question is. How and why, right? How do you know? Why is that your answer? Those are really powerful questions because it takes any question, whether it's a lower level question or a higher order thinking kind of question, and it increases the rigor of that question by forcing students to defend their answer. A lot of times, whenever we're working with teachers on developing questions and also working with students on helping them to develop better answers, we talk about developing questions that have a race response, something that the student would need to restate, answer, cite, and explain. So if students aren't able to do those 4 things, the question may not be difficult enough or challenging enough for them to actually engage with the material. Not that there's no benefit to other kinds of questions, but that's really important. So when you're talking about having another student come in and give their feedback on it, it sounds like that's a really good tactic to get students to be able to defend those answers, right? Answer and explain why. Cite where you found that answer. You have that different colored pen and you can explain, well, so-and-so introduced this and it reminded me of that, and back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I love assessments that can accomplish multiple goals for an instructor while achieving the equally important goal of not just saddling the instructor with extra work, and whether it's extra grading work or extra instructional time taken up, but any assessment method that can give you a way to assess how a student's mastery has progressed with the different color pen, that encourages peer learning, that gives students an opportunity to advocate for their particular thought process and speak and defend their answers. You get all of that without necessarily adding additional instructional burden on the teacher. I think it's really interesting. Now, I would imagine that different subject areas might work well with this method better than others. I believe the author of the article talks about how this is particularly valuable in math classes where you are having the students doing multiple step problems, such as more advanced math classes. Statistics classes apparently have a lot of success with this method. I would imagine other subject areas may or may not benefit from this as much, but I would say it's at least worth educators adding this as one additional arrow in their quiver, whether you would make all your assessments like this, which is probably not the way to go, but having it as one extra approach, particularly for subject matter that has multiple steps, that's particularly conducive to facilitating discussions amongst peers. This could be a really great method.
I'm glad you mentioned that it's something that would facilitate discussion, because when you take it in that sense, yes, math with multi-steps, I was thinking that would be really beneficial. I can think of a lot of different opportunities, though, in different subject areas. If you're talking about something in a language arts class and you want to get, let's say, for example, that you are discussing an author's perspective on something or even writing an essay, it's very beneficial to have another student's perspective in that and to give additional feedback. Same with maybe we do a lot of, in social studies classes, they do things called DBQs, right? Document-based questions or database questions. And those are things that really require a lot of critical thinking. And so having another student's perspective in the mix and bringing that into it would be a fantastic way for students to see, okay, this would further my thinking as such. And then the idea of grading and making this one of multiple types of grading, I think, is really important, because we have to remember as educators that there are assessments of learning and there are assessments for learning. And it seems like this is a really fantastic assessment for learning that would be something that pushes the thought forward, and not necessarily as a culminating assessment to gain understanding of how much a student has mastered a particular concept.
Yeah, it definitely works as an assessment in that sense. I'm with you on that. All right, Sarah, what story do you have for us this week? You gave me a little bit of a preview before the show started. I'm really excited to hear more.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about Heman Bekele, a 14-year-old ninth grader at W.T. Woodson High School in Annandale, Virginia, who recently made headlines by winning the prestigious 2023 3M Young Scientist Challenge. This competition, organized by 3M and Discovery Education, celebrates the ingenuity of middle school students across the nation. Heman was born in Ethiopia and moved to the U.S. at the age of 4, and was acutely aware of the issues related to sun exposure and the prohibitive cost of skin cancer treatments, stating, quote, "I always thought people constantly getting hit by the really hot sun and not having the awareness or even the knowledge that this is a really dangerous issue. So then when they did get diagnosed with skin cancer from all of that exposure, they weren't able to afford any sort of treatment. The average global price of skin cancer is over $40,000. This knowledge and his personal experiences fueled his passion for creating an accessible treatment option. Thus, he created the Skin Cancer Treating Soap, SCTS, and it's much more than just a bar of soap. It has the potential to transform the way we approach skin cancer treatment. Filled with carefully selected cancer-fighting chemicals, this compound-based soap is not only effective, but also incredibly affordable. Heman's determination to create an accessible solution stems from his deep empathy for those who couldn't afford conventional treatments, often priced beyond the reach of many. This incredible invention has earned him the title of America's top young scientist and won him a grand prize of $25,000 and the admiration of the scientific community. Heman's passion for science and innovation started at a young age and was nurtured by his elementary school experiences, where he had the freedom to explore and create. Every Friday, he was given an hour to bring his innovative ideas to life. Then he had mentorship experiences allowing him to navigate the complexities of the scientific processes, guiding him through the challenges and triumphs of product development. Heman's soap is a testament to his ingenuity and creativity by combining knowledge of chemistry with an understanding of societal challenges. He plans to obtain FDA certification and a provisional patent for his soap with hopes of bringing it to the market by 2025. And Heman wasn't the only young innovator making waves in the competition. There were other remarkable students showcasing their innovative projects, ranging from cost-effective microneedling patches to epilepsy detection gloves to ultrasound hamstring lesion detection devices. It was a little hard to say. And these young minds are not just dreamers, they are doers, paving the way for a brighter and healthier future. As an educator, it's really exciting and heartening to witness the passion and dedication of students like this. Their achievements remind us of the importance of nurturing creativity and curiosity in our classrooms.
And did I hear you correctly, Sarah, when you said that Heman is in middle school?
I think when he put in the project for the award, he was in middle school. He's a current 9th grader at a high school in Annandale, Virginia.
I think when I was in 8th/9th grade, the scientific innovation that I was doing in school was we made our own ice cream out
that's fun.
out of milk and rock salt, and we thought that was quite the innovation. But this is astounding, and I'm hearing a lot of these stories lately about these national science fairs where these students, the winners, but even like some of the ones who don't win, but get close to winning, are producing things that are just beyond what we would imagine to be the capability of students of this age, and it speaks to the quality of the education these students are receiving and just the dedication that they have to this. And there was one piece in particular that I want to harp back on with you that you mentioned there towards the end, which is how Heman's innovation is a testament not just to the great education he's received in the sciences, but also the things that he's been exposed to in the social sciences as well as in his own personal life, because this innovation this soap that he created is just as much a product of the chemistry as it is the product of him developing an awareness of the societal context of why we need this kind of innovation and his own upbringing in Africa. All of that coming together. And so I think the lesson that we might be able to learn from this is that if we want to encourage more scientific innovation among young people, it's not just enough to teach them the hard science. We need to give them the context, not just the how and the what, but the why of how these innovations get created. Why do we need these innovations? Who do we need these innovations for? And give them an awareness of the world around them, particularly some of the more underprivileged areas that might be even more in need of these kind of innovations. And that's how we make the great things happen.
And we talk about things like when students are involved in the citizen science opportunities where they
I was thinking of citizen science, yeah.
Yeah, when they get to see actual work that they are doing impact issues in the world around us. It is so critical. I mean, I can think of just almost every introductory paragraph of a science textbook talking about how science is about the observation and a relationship of things around us, right? Understanding the world around us. But then how much of our class time is spent on things that seemingly have no relevance outside of taking an assessment and getting a grade.
Yeah.
And so how do we make sure that students understand that everything that they are learning should be relevant to something that's happening in the world around them. I get really excited. A lot of our schools have transitioned from doing kind of traditional science fairs to something called invention conventions, which are really popular with a lot of STEM programming. And
I love seeing these.
Yes, a lot of schools are going in that direction because it's about helping students to identify and try to solve a problem that they are seeing in their lives. And that really brings about opportunities for students to bring in those skills that you're talking about, where they're learning about things in other subjects that can help them to determine how can they not just identify, but address these issues, and that adults are going to listen to them. So it's really exciting to see our students have the opportunity to grow each of those skills.
Yeah, we see great things happen all the time when we mix the science with the why of the science. I'm reminded of the Teachers of the Year nominees that we profiled, and we had that one nominee who was a science teacher, and her name is escaping me, which bums me out, but she was a science teacher who taught her kids about science through the lens of helping save a lake in her Colorado community, I believe it was. And by giving the students the why of the science, why they were learning these things, and the power that their knowledge had to make the world a better place, they achieved greater learning outcomes.
Absolutely. And I know that when we do have these invention convention type things, it's even made more powerful when there's a cross-curricular component. So science teachers working with the language arts teachers and the science teachers and the social studies teachers to bring these issues together and helping students to see that there is a connection, not just that we say this is important someday. This is important today, and you're important today, and your voice is important today. And I do think that with, the proliferation of a lot of things on social media, students at a younger age do see themselves making a difference, not just one-off, this 1 in a billion, 1 in 8 billion person, but students like them are doing things every day. So thanks so much for being with us today. Thanks everyone for listening in as we kind of get our feet wet again in our old studio homes as we're speaking to you. And we'd love to hear from you. If you have something to share, if you have a great idea you'd like us to hear about, feel free to reach out to us using the hashtag Big Ideas in Education. Thanks. We'll see you next time.
The views expressed on the preceding program have been those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Academica, its clients, staff, affiliates, or advertisers.